Hello everyone, this is Leah with Boost TOEFL. Good to see you again. So today I will walk you through another writing question of the new TOEFL writing, which is writing for an academic discussion. So in today's video, we're going to cover the following things. First, we will take a look at the requirements and format of this type of question. And then we will learn about the writing strategies and also a very easy to learn template. After that, we will move on to some important tips so that we can avoid making mistakes during the exam. And finally, when all of these are done, we will apply what we have learned to a new and real test question. Okay, so now let's get started. Alright, first let's take a look at the format and requirements. The time limit here is 10 minutes. Which means we have to analyze, write, and refine within a relatively short period of time. So we have to pay attention to our speed of writing. And then this writing for an academic discussion is all about finding the topic and finding a stance. The professor will introduce the topic with key questions and views. And then two students will present opposing opinions. So we have to make clear what's the main topic and what are the opposing opinions. And then we can choose our own stance. All right. And when we respond to the question, we have to first express and support our opinion using argumentations. And second, we have to make contribution to the discussion. Because this is a group discussion, so we have to make our portion of contribution. All right? And the key is that we have to write at least 100 words. So again, speed is very important. All right? And then let's take a look at a 3-step strategy that we can use to analyze the question. All right? So step 1, which takes about 1 minute and 30 seconds, is analyzing the prompt. So we have to identify the main topic from the things that the professor said and summarize the two students' viewpoints. Okay, this is the analysis of the question. And then we move on to step 2, which takes about 1 minute. Here, we plan our response before writing. Okay, we should decide our own position. And then select our main supporting reasons. So this is about forming an outline in your mind. All right, your main topic and your supporting reasons should be included. And then we move on to the most important part, which is writing and refining, which takes about 7 minutes and 30 seconds. We can use 7 minutes to write and 30 seconds to refine. Okay, here we apply the template structure and check the spelling and the grammar. Okay, with this clear strategy and steps, I believe you will make a better analysis and preparation for your writing. Okay, and now let's move on to the part that most students are most curious about, which is the template. As we can see, the template can be divided into 3 parts: introduction, body, and conclusion. So first, let's take a look at the introduction part. What should we do here? Okay, so in this part, we have to engage ourselves in the discussion, which means we have to respond to other students' opinion. All right, so while opposing students' name emphasizes opposing viewpoints. For example, if you don't agree with Paul, then you should say that while Paul emphasizes something. And then I believe that my position offers a more sustainable and impactful solution. So my position here means that after analyzing both students' opinion, we have to choose our stance. All right, you can agree with one of them, or you can provide your own new idea, but it should be a very clear argument. All right, and then we move on to the body part. We divide the body part into 2 parts so that we can give 2 logical reasons. To begin with, my position brings significant benefits to somebody. Okay, and this is our main topic or main reason. And then we're going to give a very clear explanation of our argument. In practical terms, this means that, and here we gave a clear explanation of the upper sentence. Okay, and then, for example, here we gave another specific example to support our opinion. And this forms body 1. Similarly, body 2 is also about reasoning. Additionally, my position also creates lasting benefits for somebody. This is our main reason 2, and still we have to give a clear explanation. Specifically, it helps to do something. So here we put our clear explanation 2. As time goes on, this positive effect continues to grow, ultimately resulting in broader, long-term positive outcome. So this sentence can apply to most of the scenarios. So we can just recite them and apply it to our writing. Okay, and when the body is finished, we have to give a very clear and concise conclusion. For these reasons, my position presents a more effective approach to the core issue. So the function of conclusion is to once again support our opinion and point to the main topic, particularly when long-term outcomes are taken into account. All right, so we can see that the logic is we first give our own clear stance, and then we use explanations and specific reasons or examples to support our own idea. And finally, we give a concise conclusion to once again enhance our opinion. All right, so this is the template that we can use during our writing. Okay? And to apply this template, we have to know some tips. First, we have to keep the content relevant, because the template can only facilitate our writing structure, but the core content should be analyzed by ourselves. So read the question carefully, all right? And don't be off topic. And then add details to your writing. So we can use like detailed reasoning or detailed examples in our writing to achieve this goal. Okay, and then give examples to support your idea. This is also a way of making our writing more detailed. Write briefly and clearly. Here, briefly means don't be too repetitive. Okay, we should give a very concise and clear argumentation. All right, and then avoid informal words. Although this is a group discussion, it's still under the academic scenario, so we have to be very formal. All right. So now that we are clear about the requirements, the strategy, and the template and tips, then we're going to apply them to a real test question. Okay, so here is a real test question. We can see the basic requirements here, and then some words from the professor, where we can find the main topic. And on the right side are the opinions from 2 students. So here are the things that we should analyze. All right, so let's analyze it together. First, the words from the professor. We have to identify the main topic. We have been discussing the integration of technology in educational settings. Okay, so this should be our main topic, right? And pay attention. The main topic often appears in the first sentence. All right. So the topic is the integration of technology in educational settings. Some educators believe that digital tools enhance students' learning by providing interactive and engaging experiences. So this is the opinion from one group of people. And then what do the other people believe? Others are concerned that too much technology in the classroom can be distracting and may negatively impact learning outcomes. Okay, so there are 2 opposing ideas. Do you think the use of technology in education is beneficial or harmful to students? Why? So the professor provides a main topic and provide us with some basic and background information. And then he asks about our own stance. Okay? And then we should analyze the opinions from the two students to see what stance did they take and what reasons did they provide. I believe that technology in education is beneficial for students. So Kelly thinks it is beneficial, right? And what are the reasons? It provides interactive learning experiences that can make complex topics easier to understand. So here is the first reason, right? Interactive learning experiences. And then additionally, digital tools can cater to various learning styles, making education more accessible. So reason number 2, cater to various learning styles. So Kelly thinks technology is beneficial in educational settings and provides 2 reasons. What about Paul? In my opinion, excessive use of technology in the classroom can be harmful. All right, so his opinion is that excessive use is harmful. And what are his reasons? It can distract students from their studies and reduce face-to-face interactions with teachers and peers. So we can see 2 reasons, right? First is distraction. And second is, reduced face-to-face interactions. A balanced approach is necessary to ensure that technology enhances rather than hinders learning. Okay, so he proposes that we should take a balanced approach. All right, so with all these analysis done, we should pick our own stance. You can choose to agree with Kelly or Paul or come up with your own opinion. When we're writing, we can refer to their reasons. Okay, but don't copy them word by word. We should make some alterations to their wording. All right. Okay, so now you can think of your own stance. Let's say that we take the position that technology in education is beneficial. Okay, so this is our stance. And we have to come up with some reasons and examples to support our opinion, right? Okay, so some of the supporting reasons may be that first, technology may provide educational equity, which means everybody can have the same right to educational resources. And second, technology can provide some long-term skill development. So these are our main reasons. And don't forget, we have to provide clear explanations to our main argument. Okay, so which means we have to do some deepened reasoning to support them. Okay, we also have to give an example. The example should be supportive to our opinion. And most of the time, we will use a very personal experience like individual case example. So here, some students may have some questions like, first, how can we deepen our reasons? Or how can we do some deep reasoning? And second, how can we make a very relevant and concise individual case example? Okay, don't worry, I am here to help you. Okay, so first, let's see how can we give reasons very deeply and logically. We call this method cause-effect deepening. Okay, let's take a look at the example. First, we write a major reason that technology in education guarantees equity, right? So this is a very macro and grand reason, right? We have to make it more precise. All right, so we can think about why. Why does technology guarantee equity? Because technology breaks financial barriers. so students can access free or low-cost learning resources that were once limited to those with more financial means. This explains why technology guarantees equity, right? So this is a cause-effect deepening, and we can explain our major reason with this specific explanation. All right? And we can further perfect it. We can bring it to a social level. By standardizing high-quality knowledge delivery, EdTech narrows gap caused by uneven regional resources and foster fair social mobility among young learners. Okay, so first we start with a very grand reason, and then we give clear explanations of the student level. And then we can bring it to the social level about social mobility. Okay, so when we are writing a reason, we can follow this step by step. Big reason, specific explanation, and then bring it to a higher level. Okay, so remember this cause-effect deepening when you are giving reasons in your writing. All right, and then let's move on to how to give an example that is relevant. We use individual examples. First, name a specific person. It can be yourself, it can be someone else, your friend, or maybe just a random person. And we write about the measurable outcome. So the basic logic is that somebody did something and gained a measurable outcome. Okay, so for this question, our stance is that technology can provide equity. So our logic should be somebody used technology in education and then he or she gained equity, right? So let's take a look. A student from a low-income background can secure admission to a competitive university through academic merit, thereby gaining access to opportunities that would otherwise be unavailable. So the random person is a student from a low-income background. And what did he do? He learned with technology. And then what's the measurable outcome? He gained admission to a competitive university. Okay, so this is a logical example that is truly relevant to our writing. Okay, so remember this logic in your mind. A specific person did specific things and gained specific measurable outcome. Okay, so now we are familiar with the two strategies. One is how to deep our reasoning, and second is how to give examples. All right, now let's write this passage together. So on the right side, we can see the main topic and two students' opinions that we've analyzed. So now let's put them in mind and write together. All right, so first, our opinion is that we think it's beneficial, right? Which means we are against Paul's idea. So here we put Paul's name. While Paul emphasizes, and we briefly summarize his opinion. Okay, so while Paul emphasizes the risk of distraction and reduced face-to-face interaction. Right? This is Paul's opinion. And I believe that my position offers a more sustainable solution. So my position is that the integration, right? The integration of technology in education. Okay, so this forms a very logical and clear opening or introduction. We engage in the discussion by responding to the opposing people's opinion and then give our own stance. Okay, and then move on to body one. to begin with, my position brings significant benefits to somebody something. Okay, so in previous part, we've prepared some reasons, right? The first reason is equity, and the second reason is long-term skill development. So here we can write like to begin with, integrating technology in education brings significant benefits to students from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds. Okay, because we believe that it will make education more equal, so students from all backgrounds can gain the benefits, right? And then we have to give a very clear explanation. Remember here, we should do the cause-effect deepening, okay? So a possible form is that this means that students can get access to free or low cost learning resources once limited to those with more financial means. So here we give a specific reasoning, which is students from all backgrounds can get access to reading or educational resources, right? And then we should provide an example. And remember that a specific person did some specific things and get memorable outcomes. Okay, so here we should write that some student or some person learned with technology and get a very good result, right? So for example, a student from a low-income background can secure admission to a competitive university through academic merits. Okay, or we can say that to a competitive university through learning with technology, which is more relevant. So learning with technology. Thereby gaining access to opportunities that would otherwise be unavailable. So this is a very relevant and clear example. A person did something and gained a good outcome. Okay, so this is body 1, and then we move on to body 2, which is we gave another reason and another clear explanation. So still our position. The assistance of technology also creates lasting benefits for students' long-term skill development. Okay, and we have to give a clear explanation. That is to explain why technology can help students get long-term development. Okay, so think about it. Why? Maybe we can write like it helps to build digital literacy. Digital literacy means the ability to use internet freely, safely, and effectively. Okay, and also independent. Learning skills. So this explains why technology helps with students' long-term development, because students can learn about digital literacy and independent learning. All right, so this forms our body too. We can take a look. We gave specific reasons, and we gave clear explanation of our reasons. And also we add an example. So this makes body very logical and clear. And then move on to our conclusion part. Okay, for these reasons, the adoption of technology in academic settings, our position, right, presents a more effective approach to the core issue is about learning or the academic performance. So we can write here to enhancing educational equity and academic performance. Okay, so this forms a very clear and complete writing. Are we finished here? Not yet. We have to refine and check about the spelling and the grammar. Okay, and we can also take this time to see whether our logic is smooth. While Paul emphasizes the risk of distraction and reduced face-to-face interaction, I believe that the integration of technology in education offers a more sustainable and impactful solution. To begin with, integrating technology in education brings significant benefits to students from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds. In practical terms, this means that students can get access to free or low-cost learning resources, once limited to those with more financial means. For example, a student from a low-income background can secure admission to a competitive university through learning with technology, thereby gaining access to opportunities that would otherwise be unavailable. Additionally, the assistance of technology also creates lasting benefits for students' long-term skill development. Specifically, it helps to build digital literacy and independent learning skills. As time goes on, this positive effect continues to grow, ultimately resulting in broader, long-term positive outcome. For these reasons, the adoption of technology in academic settings represents a more effective approach to enhancing educational equity and academic performance, particularly when long-term outcomes are taken into account. Okay, so from this process, you can say that refining and checking is very important because we can see some typos. All right. We all know that practice makes perfect, so I provide you with one more real test question for you to practice. And don't forget about the 3-step method. Step 1, we analyze the question, find the main topic and the 2 students' opinion. Then we make the outline, find our own position, and think about 2 reasons and an example. During this process, don't forget about how to reason and how to give examples. And finally, write and refine. Okay, when you are doing the writing, follow the step one by one. And with enough practice, I believe you are going to master the template and get a very satisfying score. Okay, this will be the end of today's sharing. If you find this video helpful, please don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel to get more information and template about new TOEFL test. Okay, and if you have any further questions, don't forget to leave a comment. See you next time.